Have you ever wondered if a gravel bike can double as your go-to road bike? Are you itching to explore the possibilities of one bike that rule them all? Or will a gravel bike be slow, heavy and cumbersome and hold you up? I get this question all the time, both here on YouTube and over on Instagram. So let's dive into it in a bit more detail. And by the end of today's video, you'll hopefully have a better understanding of how a gravel bike can be used as a road bike. Now, I've been using my own Specialized Crocs as a road bike through the winter for the last few months with some fat, slick tyres, and I've used many gravel bikes in testing as road bikes over the years as well. From doing 300-kilometre rides on my Fairlight Secan to fast, pacey lunchtime rides on a Canyon Grail. And through all the testing, I found there's no reason a gravel bike can't be used as a road bike, because it essentially is a road bike, right? Drop handlebars, it's lightweight, relatively narrow tyres, and a geometry often very close to a road bike. And some are nothing more than fat tyre road bikes in disguise. But there are a few subtle differences worth exploring in a bit more detail, so let's dive in. Are you worried that your gravel bike might lag behind a road bike and hold you up? I think this speaks of the big concern that many people have when asking the question of whether a gravel bike can be used as a road bike. They're worried it'll be slow, heavy and cumbersome, and I hear where you're coming from. While a stock gravel bike with no changes won't match the speed of a road race bike, a simple tyre swap could bridge the gap. Skinny tyres on a gravel bike, yes, it looks a bit strange with a massive tyre clearance, but it can give you a bike that's a good match for any road bike. Okay, so the Tarmac SL8 will definitely leave you in a cloud of dust, but if you're not racing, it's more than quick enough in my opinion. In my testing, a gravel bike with a 28 to 30mm wide tyre rides very nicely indeed. But the beauty of a gravel bike is the tyre clearance, so why limit yourself to a narrow tyre? I found with a 35 to 40mm wide tyre, you get ample speed, but then loads more comfort and traction, which is a bonus on our crappy roads. And even with a wide gravel tyre, if you choose one of the semi-slick options where it's smooth down the middle, like a Specialized Pathfinder for example, I think you will be surprised how fast such a tyre rolls. At low speeds from 15 to 20-25 kilometers per hour, there's not much of a handicap at all. And it's only when you get above 35 kilometers per hour, in my experience, do the bigger tyres feel slower, as much from the weight and aero penalty of the bigger tyres versus a narrow tyre. But talking of speed, Renhurst, a small but popular tyre company, in their testing and research, they found one of their 44mm wide tyres rolled as fast as an off-the-shelf 28mm wide tyre due to the supple casings of their wide tyres, showing that width isn't the only factor behind how fast a tyre is. The construction plays a big part as well. Granted, those wide tyres will catch more air, they're not as aero, but what difference does 10mm really make? If you're choosing a gravel bike as a road bike, then aerodynamics is probably not your biggest concern, but let me know if I'm wrong by leaving a comment down below. Wide tyres are definitely heavier though, but we're still talking hundreds of grams, so not a lot in the grand scheme of things when you take the bike as an overall and then add the heavy lump on top of the bike as well. But if you want to go faster than that and you want weight and aerodynamics, then probably a gravel bike as a road bike isn't the right bike for you, and you're better sticking with a road race bike. But if outright speed isn't the main focus for your riding enjoyment, then a gravel bike with narrow tyres or a nice wide supple tyre is just fine. While choosing a gravel or road bike is tricky because there's so much choice, choosing a new website is easy. Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it super easy and quick to launch a brand new website in 2024. And building a website in Squarespace really couldn't be any easier. There are loads of high quality templates to get you up and running in no time at all, and each can be customized just the way you want it using a very simple drag and drop interface. And there are loads of powerful tools to really take your website to the next level. And you can build a website for anything, from an online store selling cool bike products, booking courses, classes and memberships, or starting your very own newsletter, or running your own blog or gallery to share your thoughts or photos from the world of cycling. So if you like the sound of that, you get a free trial right now using the link down below in the description, And if you enjoy it, we get 10% off your first purchase using the code on screen right now. Okay, on with the video. Let's move away from speed and talk about traction and comfort. And here's why I would lean towards a wider tyre on a gravel bike, even if I setting the bike up as a road bike. Big tyres provide unparalleled stability and a cushy ride, especially on the rough roads most of us have to deal with, and also gives you the benefit of leaving a tarmac behind and doing some light gravel, dirt roads, depending on where you live. If it's dry, not too rough and rocky, those slick wide tyres will be just fine on the dirt and dust. And if you encounter any cobbles like they have in Belgium and northern France, then their wide tyres will definitely be smoother and faster over that rough pavé. Plus, the other big benefit of a gravel bike over a road bike, in my experience, are the low gears, which mean you can more easily conquer climbs like a champion. Even a top end speed takes a slight hit. But that does mean you get up climbs easier in more comfort rather than straining due to high gears on a race bike that are probably too big for most of us. Now, take my Specialized Crux for example. I have a 42 tooth chainring and a 1044 cassette on the back, and in my top gear I can easily hit 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, and that is pretty damn quick, I reckon. I mean, how much faster do you really want to go if you're riding a road bike like that? Yes, if you're racing, it might hold you back, but we're not talking about a bike for racing, for riding at regular speeds. Now, what's a regular speed? Well, for me, the roads I ride on and my fitness level, it's anywhere from 25 to 35 kilometers per hour with an average speed down to 25 due to the hills I ride on. And I like to really test myself on climbs, and having that lower gear, especially that big cassette with a 44 on the back, enables me and allows me to tackle the climbs and actually enjoy the climbs where I live and not be overgeared on every climb due to the race focused gears on most road, race and endurance bikes. So if you're riding on your own or with a small group and not trying to set any PBs, then the gearing and tyres are just fine. If you are trying to keep up with a fast moving group or a chain gang, then you might find the limitations, and if that is the case, then a gravel bike as a road bike probably isn't the right choice for you, unless you go for a 2x road gearing setup on a gravel bike. But if you're doing that, you may as well ride a road bike rather than try and modify a gravel bike into a road bike with narrow tyres and road gearing. There are some key differences in the geometry of a gravel bike versus a road bike, all the measurements and angles that determine how the bike handles and how you fit on it in terms of stack and reach and head angle and wheelbase and so on. But it does vary from brand to brand. There's no real easily defined blueprint for how a gravel bike should be different to a road bike, an endurance bike and an adventure bike. They are all different. Some gravel bikes are very close to an endurance road bike, like a Specialized Roubaix and a Specialized Diverge, for example. And some gravel bikes are much closer to a mountain bike than a road bike. So it's really worth diving into the details of the geometry of any gravel bike you are looking to buy and see how close it is or isn't to a road bike you might already own or might be considering alongside that new bike. And my favorite website for doing this is Geometry Geeks. I'll put a link down below. You can tap in different bikes, different sizes, and it will give you a comparison of how they differ in terms of length and angles and so on. A really useful website for helping you have a better understanding of the key differences between different bikes. Because some road bikes, like the Specialized Roubaix endurance bike, are very close to a gravel bike and add choice or confusion to the question of which is the right bike. So at Roubaix, with a 40mm wide gravel tyre, as I found, might be enough for the riding aspirations you have, especially if it's smooth dirt, dry gravel, the bike can be just fine. But from my experience and the riding I do, that tyre clearance is a bit limiting. So I want a gravel bike with much bigger tyre clearance to fit around a wide tyre. So if I'm riding through muddy lanes, the mud can clear through the tyre and the frame and not get stuck and hold me up. And we are increasingly seeing more road bikes with bigger tyre clearance, especially in the endurance category. The aforementioned Roubaix, also Giant Defy and others having bigger tyre clearance than ever, which does make the question of choosing a gravel bike over a road bike even trickier, because now you can choose a road bike and run it as a road bike or as a light gravel bike. But if you're trying to do actual gravel and actual road, then I think choosing a gravel bike with a bigger tyre clearance and the geometry differences and then modifying it to a road makes more sense than taking a road bike and trying to modify it to gravel. So if you really want just one bike, then a gravel bike can function just fine as a gravel bike as it's designed for. But if you have the luxury of two bikes, I personally still rather have a road bike and a gravel bike. One set up primarily for road riding and one for off-road riding, and ride them in a way they're both designed for. But if my situation was different, I would certainly choose a gravel bike over a road bike and get an extra set of wheels and tyres. I'd be very happy indeed. I won't feel like I'm compromised or held back by riding that gravel bike as a road bike. So in summary, gravel bike or road bike? Well, it's definitely a personal choice. If you crave the best of both worlds, I think a gravel bike with an extra set of wheels and tyres might just be a ticket to cycling bliss. But remember, it's not just about the bike, it's about the ride. So whatever you choose, make sure you enjoy riding and just ride bikes. Anyway, hopefully this video has been useful and interesting. And if you want to see a video of the best gravel bikes currently on the market, then do watch this video right up here. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.